Hey guys, and welcome back to another CreepyPasta brought to you by TokeTok Radio with your favorite hosts, Mountain Man
and the Wizard.
Today's story is God was forced to leave heaven by Mortem 33 from one of the creepiest places on Reddit, NoSleep. So make sure you guys go over there to www.reddit.com/NoSleep for more stories like this one.
Hey guys, the show's about to start. Sit back, relax, take a hit, and enjoy.
Bitch, shut the fuck up. My bitch so stuck. I ain't honest, but I get the bucks, yeah. I know I'm right in the chest, bit dog. Pull the white walls, no flex involved. Tell me that you lost without telling me you lost. I get better, so my shit is left to
TokeTok Radio with Mountain Man and the Wizard. The Wizard, and the Wizard, and the Wizard, and the Wizard, and the Wizard.
A few years ago, I decided to quit the priesthood. I dedicated more than 35 years of my life to the Lord, and I followed Him and His word blindly. The church became more important to me than everything. It was my home, my sanctuary, the place where I felt most at peace. My unconditional love was to God. Not few were the days when I overlooked and neglected my family for Him. Then, one day, my wife got sick. I prayed, and I prayed. I hoped He would listen. She only lasted 5 days after the diagnosis. It spread so fast in her body. The doctor said they never seen anything like that before. Yet I didn't renounce God. I said that if that was what He wanted, so be it. 2 years after that, my daughter had an accident while coming home from school. It was winter. She slipped on the ice and hit her head violently. She passed away 2 hours later at the hospital. I felt like nothing had made sense anymore. I felt like being subjected to twisted tests and monstrous things were building up inside of me. I started doubting not only my God, but His existence too. What kind of a ruthless, wretched, and faceless God would allow something like this to happen? Kind of a monster that held power over everything would allow two innocent and beautiful souls to be taken away like that. I remembered screaming at the sky when I lost all composure.
I never asked you for anything. I was a faithful soldier. I spread your word to everyone. Yet you let the two loves of my life die. You took them away from me. Why? If you're out there, give me a sign.
Nothing.
Fuck you, you fucking coward!
I yelled, flipping off the sky, ripping off my collar. That was the last day for me as a priest, preaching the word of the Lord. I gave in to drinking. Seemed the only logical thing to do. Alcohol was always considered to be the most effective short-term memory loss enabler. That's what I wanted. To forget about my misery for just those few hours. Shortly after that, I found myself wasting away in different bars every day. Then the unspeakable happened. I learned about the most frightening thing in the world. It was a Wednesday night, about 8 o'clock or so. Jack, the bartender, saved my life once after finding me intoxicated and passed out in the park. Poured me a double whiskey on the rocks. That's all I was getting for the night. He wouldn't pour me anymore. He said he didn't want to feel guilty if I died of cirrhosis or some other alcohol-related shit. How's it go, Jack? I asked, sipping on my drink.
Not too bad, Thomas. How about you?
I groaned and didn't say anything. I began studying the whiskey. I asked myself why alcohol has such a strong effect on us. Why do we drink it? We do it no matter how it feels. If we're sad and depressed, we drink to drown those bad feelings away. If we're happy, we drink it so we can celebrate important events in our life. We use it to pour a few drops on the grave for fallen buddies to honor their memory. A man stormed the bar. He almost kicked the door down. I could feel something was off about him, but he looked straight at me. I saw the fear in his eyes, and it shook me to my core. The rather particular thing I noticed was that every person in the bar seemed to ignore what had just happened. They just carried on with their mundane conversations and whatnot.
I'll have a vodka, please.
He told Jack, almost out of breath. I ignored him and carried on sipping on my whiskey. There was a sense of impending doom floating in the air. That man had something wrong about him. I wasn't scared of him, but by what he brought with him. I felt he carried an all too heavy burden. I didn't know if it was guilt, fear, sadness, or what. The only thing I knew was that whatever he had to say was terrifying.
I need to talk to you before I go, Father. It's coming soon. I can't do anything to stop it.
He said, staring at me blankly in the eye. He looked so lost, so empty, defeated. Don't call me that. I stopped being a priest a long time ago. Are you all right? I asked him, seeing his entire body shiver. His hand was shaking violently while he drank. He continued to stare at me. I felt my heart rising in my throat. There was just a never-ending feeling of deep fear and hopelessness and wretchedness that this man transmitted.
I'm sorry, Father. I wish I'd said or did something about the passing of your family. I simply couldn't.
The odd man said, bursting into tears.
Was God.
I felt shivers run down my spine. Anger and fear took hold of me, clouding my judgment. I squeezed the glass so hard it broke. Listen, man, I don't know who the hell you are or who sent you here, but I swear I'll beat the living hell out of you if you don't leave, I said, instantly judging myself. Jack, did you hear what this man just said?
Yeah, he said he wanted a vodka, and I gave it to him.
No, after that, man. Didn't you hear what he said a few seconds ago? Jack just gave me a confused stare, raising an eyebrow. This was getting very strange. It was either they were all messing with me, or I didn't have a goddamn clue as to what was going on.
Only you can hear everything I say. Now, do you believe me or not?
He then grabbed my wrist and pressed hard on it. I saw land burning. There was creatures unknown to me fighting each other, getting killed in gruesome ways. They were pulling each other's eyes out. They were eating each other. Flesh and blood was flying in the air, morbidly decorating the once beautiful land. It looked like one grotesque painting. I heard a metallic scream somewhere in the distance. I was petrified with fear. I froze in place, unable to move. I looked the man in the eye and screamed, falling off my chair. His grip left a circular burn on my wrist. Jack, what's going on? I cried.
You lost balance and fell, Thomas. Be careful more next time.
This wasn't happening. It couldn't be. I scanned the room for a quick second. Everybody acted like I just fell out of my chair. Like I was drunk.
Thomas, I'm sorry for all this. I wish it could have been very different. What I have to say is very important. Please, There's not much time left. They are coming.
I nodded. This was impossible for me to believe. After all these years, and after all I had been through, God came to me. I felt the fear clogging my arteries. I felt like a bomb ready to explode.
Heaven is burning. It's almost dead, soon to be wiped out of existence. I don't think anything could save it.
I just stared at him, dumbfounded. He told me everything, and what I learned will haunt me for the rest of my life. When he created heaven, he hid it. He knew there were more gods. Some were good. He could have found allies. Others were so evil, so diabolical that they could wipe him and heaven out in seconds. That's why he camouflaged heaven, hell, and our planet as a precautionary measure. He told me heaven was like a paradise. The souls of our dear departed, the ones who did nothing but good in this life, were allowed to ascend there in their afterlife. The angels were not as we all knew them. They had a different appearance. God made them in a way meant to strike utmost fear in their enemies when they were going into battle. And there were a lot of battles throughout time, with lesser gods, with the devil. Heaven always won, easily so, but not this time. This was absolutely frightening, even for God.
I did manage to hide every single soul from heaven to another place I have created. He never knew about it because I would never allow it. A smaller heaven, the endless sanctuary.
I stood aghast. I wanted to ask something, but he cut me off before I could pop the...
Yes, your daughter and wife are safe.
He also told me he created an endless amount of new angels, his most powerful soldiers.
I'll use my angels against these evil beings, against the screaming ones.
One day, a deafening scream resounded across heaven. It sounded a few years ago. Years by mankind's way of measuring time. Up there, it was mere minutes. The scream instantly killed some of the angels, turning them to ash. Those who were up in the ranks tried to fight, but they soon lost too. God managed to save the souls of the departed and some of the angels, archangels, and even the saints. He hid them all in the endless sanctuary. He said he even thought to forgive Lucifer and ask him to join the fight. But it was too late. Before heaven, they destroyed hell. The devil wasn't dead. He vanished. God tried to find him, but didn't manage to do so. When heaven was almost gone, he left it briefly so he could take care of the little he had saved. He told me he even managed, in the nick of time, to move the tree of life from heaven to the endless sanctuary. If the tree got destroyed, that would end everything. God, heaven, mankind, our planet.
When I left, I saw their silhouettes, slender and tall, piercing and screaming to the heavens, killing my beautiful creation, my children. It was horrifying to look at. Thomas, I have never been afraid of anything before. This was the first time. Do you know how awful this feels?
Yes, I do. You're passing that fear on to me right now. I never even thought this kind of fear existed. He then gave me the last details about the screaming ones. Those terrified me. I was a statue, frozen in place in the bar stool. Their face was just a gigantic spiraling mouth. The shiny and pointy teeth just kept chattering, while the waves of sound the scream made obliterated everything in its path. He grabbed my wrist one more time. Then I was taken off into heaven. I saw one of them. It came to me. He started screaming. I felt my whole body tremble. My skin was falling off, blood pouring on the ground. I saw how I would die. It was a picture I'll never forget. And then God left to salvage what he could. He felt like a part of him was murdered, ripped away, and killed in cold blood. Heaven was a screaming bloodbath.
Thomas, you were one of my most faithful servants. Your work and devotion never went unnoticed. That's why I choose you today.
I could barely find words for everything he said. I just stood there, watching him tell me the tale of how heaven was almost murdered. I couldn't understand, yet I believed him with every single inch of my mind.
You know, each prayer does work. When you pray to me, the words empower me. They give me strength and make me stronger. You are my most beautiful creation, and I love every single one of you. You all have flaws, but you don't need to be perfect. That's why I made you like this.
Is that all we can do to help? He nodded and let out a sigh.
We don't even understand how strong the power of prayer is. This is why you must share this with whomever you can. Final war against the screaming ones will take place in 5 days. If you start hearing screams coming from the sky, then I have failed everyone and everything. Your prayers will no longer work because I'll be dead.
And then he left. These past 4 days have been nerve-wracking. I couldn't sleep because all I could think about was what might happen. Wherever God is, we should all be praying. Pray as much as you can, because this is the last day.